I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand.
Welcome back, everybody, to the witness stand, where we are continuing to review the Lindsay Clancy murder trial. We are in week 4, but first, I want to tell you where I'm coming from: Asheville, North Carolina, and staying at Cedar Crest Inn, a bed and breakfast, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's next door to the Biltmore house. If you've ever come this way, please consider this. It is wonderful. And I don't get paid to do this. I'm just telling you out of the bottom of my heart, this is one of the best places, a bed and breakfast I've ever stayed in. They are wonderful here. Okay, so getting back to why we're here. Okay, so let's just start right off with day 14. We have Ian Whiffen. And I don't really have much to say about this guy, although he was on stand for a while, but he's the Commonwealth's final witness. Now, he is a digital forensic examiner. And so he was all about the phone and what Lindsay was doing. Apparently, I think it was an Apple. I don't know, but it seems like Apple watches and Apple phones and all that does all this stuff. But it marked her movements everywhere she went. It did not mark any movements should she put the phone down or lay it down or turn it off or anything like that. But she had it on until a very specific time. And that was the time that she landed outside of that window. Okay. What he did do was he established the timeline of when Lindsay was moving around the house. And he also did not give the Commonwealth what they needed to support the idea of her being criminally responsible. I don't think he really did. I will say that you've probably heard all these conspiracies right now about Patrick doing it. Well, Patrick was not the offender. He was not the perpetrator. He did not kill or try to kill Lindsay or kill his children. So what he did do was they were able to take security footage and place him at CVS and I think the restaurant anyway, and it matches up to the time, so he could not possibly have done this. So you, Patrick Clancy conspirators, put it to rest. It's over with. Okay, the Commonwealth finally rested its case. So we were done with her and the hostility. I felt like hostility. I would say we were done. We were just done with their case, not the hostility. We are going to get into that. All right, so now the defense comes up, and all of these that we're talking about now are defense witnesses. But before, and this happens before he presented his case, this happens all the time, where the defense will ask for the case to be dismissed or her found not guilty or whatever the case may be, to say that he is saying that Lindsay should not be found guilty by criminal responsibility. That always happens because the defense is saying the prosecutors have not proved their case, and so there is no reason to carry forward. I don't know how many times that works. I've not seen that very much. I have seen it some, but not very much. But he argued that the Commonwealth's own witnesses had established that Lindsay suffered from a mental disease or defect. I don't think that is in dispute. That poor woman was very sick. And he asked for the acquittal, or alternatively, a reduction from first degree to second degree murder, which would help a little bit, but he's still looking for no criminal liability, which would most likely put her in a mental institution. And quite frankly, by everything I'm reading about her, I think she wants to be there. I really do. So this was not, and I must say, this was not the judge saying that Lindsay was criminally responsible or not criminally responsible. It only meant that there was enough evidence on the Commonwealth's part to carry on. I need to correct something. In the very beginning of this, I was given the information that the prosecutor, one of them was named Andrea Fowl. That's not the case. Her last name was Buckingham. I don't know where I got that other thing from, but please forgive me. It's a work in progress. The next person that he brought up was, and this was fascinating, it was Margaret Hamp, Hamp. She was a former nursing colleague. So she worked with Lindsay when Lindsay first started as a nurse, so she was quite green. And she also worked in the labor and delivery of Mass General. Lindsay, she said, was compassionate with patients and emotional during birth. She was like, oh, that's so beautiful. When a baby was born, she just loved it. Very emotional, compassionate. And she, for her own children, she was all the time checking to see if her children were okay. She had cameras that, baby cams on her phone that she could go and look and see them sleeping and make sure everything was okay. Well, one night she saw one of the kids crying and Patrick was home, but Patrick wasn't getting up. And so she called Patrick multiple times. He didn't answer the phone. So you know what she did? She called the police for a wellness check. Now that's how much she cared about her children. There was a pregnant woman that came in to the hospital when the two of them were there, and she had threatened to commit suicide. This really got to Lindsay, but she started talking a lot to Margaret about, what is this? They see this very often. And Margaret said, do you know about the Andrea Yates case? Lindsay, after she told her about it, and that was a very huge case where she had drowned her 5 children in a bathtub because she was hearing voices that told her to do it. And she really concentrated more toward a religious thing, like she was talking to God, but nevertheless, she did the same kind of horrible thing here, only a different manner. But she told her about that case, and Lindsay cried and asked, how can a mother do that to her children? You're getting kind of a piece of what Lindsay was like before this trial and before the happenings on January 24th. And I think we're looking at September to the decline in Lindsay. It really said she was a protective mother, compassionate nurse, no history of violence toward her children, and no apparent identification with mothers who had killed their children. Okay. She didn't know about it. And I don't think she went and looked at it. That's Bev's opinion. Okay. Now, the defense testimony. This is Allison Ozga. This is Lindsay's sister. They live in 2 different states, but they still maintained, contact all the time between text messages and some phone calls, but they mostly text, which I think everybody does today, except for me, because I have to do one finger. I'm a boomer. Anyway, by Thanksgiving of 2022, the family had gotten together, and she said Lindsay looked tired, had lost weight, and did not seem like herself. By December, Allison believed her sister was deteriorating. So September to December, she was looking worse, okay? And then Lindsay told her that she was in a very difficult place. Allison testified that Lindsay reported experiencing suicidal thoughts every day for approximately a month. At Cora's January birthday party, Lindsay appeared to be just going through emotions, which I think everyone has experienced either mental health situations themselves or by one degree of separation where somebody else was experiencing that. So it just comes down to, we have so much mental health issues in this time and working through this mental health crisis. I just cannot believe that at this day and time, we are still not helping people, identifying and getting them treated, especially where they're begging for help, and especially in a target of postpartum depression. If you continue and you can't get out of that, it's very common to go into psychosis. That was my sidebar. Okay. So I get very emotional about that because of, mental illness and how it affects all of us. Okay. So the prosecution came back in, their rebuttal, cross-examination. And get this, Allison is a licensed social worker and a mandated reporter. So if you don't know what a mandated reporter that is, someone in a field such as psychology that works with children, that works with anything mental health, doctors, anybody that can see and have knowledge of the fact that this person is talking about hurting themselves or hurting others. And a big thing here is with a plan. Okay, that's opinion again. I do not believe that we're looking at the same situation here, because Lindsay was going for months and months of the same type of depression and but talking about suicide. Well, after a while, somebody talking about suicide should be taken seriously, especially when it's gone on for months. So should she have reported Lindsay? I don't know. It's easy to say 2020. Well, not 20. Hindsight is 2020. That had she, maybe they would have done something. But the woman is asking for help for so long and not getting it. Would they have helped her? Well, keep listening. Prosecution comes back at her and asks about the mandated reporter and the fact that she said she never reported Lindsay or the children were in immediate danger. I don't know that they thought that. Think about a close family member of yours. If they talked about committing suicide or hurting their children, you're going to call somebody in, or you're going to get them mental health treatment. You're going to get them to a doctor, I would imagine. But they didn't. And I don't know why. I have no idea why. Okay, probably Lindsay didn't want her to. But anyway, she said that she previously described Lindsay as appearing okay at Cora's party. Well, remember, she said that she was just going through the motions. But she said that she did not recall whether Lindsay had asked to leave McLean Hospital early for the party. She did not know that. And that was something in the prosecution's case that Lindsay apparently had done. Okay, then the defense calls Paula Musgrove, Lindsay's mother. You know this has got to be a tough one. Her mother, Paula, set up how Lindsay had been, the mother she had been before all of this. She described Lindsay as devoted and fun-loving. She spoke about her love for all three of her children, and she said Lindsay had always wanted to become a mother. And I might have said in a previous one about Lindsay and Patrick were considering a fourth child, but she knew that she had to get herself together first. So Lindsay was hoping this would pass. Mom talked about Lindsay's decline. She said in October, Lindsay asked Paula to come stay with her. She said that she was very sick, something was wrong, and she was afraid to be alone. She was suffering frightening insomnia. On one occasion, Lindsay asked to sleep in her mother's bed because she was afraid. All of this is really pointing to something bad. She became reluctant to drive. She worried about the children's school. She thought they could tell that something was wrong with her. She started feeling like paranoid, like people were watching and knowing her thoughts. She said that she complained of memory problems and said the medications were destroying her mind. Most importantly, Lindsay disclosed to Paula and Patrick that she was having thoughts of harming the children. Prosecution came back and said, well, you didn't call 911. You didn't attempt to have her committed. She did not remove the children from Lindsay, which I guess she could have. She had sent Lindsay encouraging texts suggesting she appeared better. That was a mother trying to help her daughter. She may have told investigators after the killings that Lindsay had improved following McLean. But Paula's explanation for that was she was trying to encourage her daughter and was present to help. Her statement to investigators after the incident was made while she was in shock. Everybody had to be in shock. Okay, so I am posing a question to you. Answer in the comments, because I really want to know what you think. The question for you is, if Lindsay disclosed thoughts of harming the children, does that prove she understood the danger, or did it prove that she was desperately asking for someone to recognize it? Put your thoughts in the comments. Very interested. Okay, then we have Dr. Michael Bull, and he came in and talked about Lindsay's injuries. Now, I must say, I need to tell you right now, he never examined Lindsay. What he did, he is an emergency medicine expert, and he reviewed Lindsay's hospital records. Vince brought him in as a counter to the Commonwealth suggestion that Lindsay staged or faked her suicide attempt. That's going to carry on, but that's what he was doing. The defense, there's another witness that's going to piggyback on that, so we'll talk about that later. So the defense introduced a before and an after portrait of Lindsay, a loving, protected mother, a woman steadily losing her ability to function, a woman reporting suicide and harm-related thoughts, a physically devastating act of self immediately after the children died. So I'll leave you with this. She was taking medications. She sliced her wrist, jumped 30 feet out of the second-story window. Was that a fake suicide attempt? Thoughts in the comments. So that's day 14. I will update you on day 15 right behind this. So it's day 14, part 1. Okay? So in the meantime, you may step off the witness stand.
I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand.